and he heard somebody trying to open the kitchen door, and there were 3 rather large monkeys out there trying to get in.
You're spending 5 minutes with a missionary. This podcast is a window into missionary life. It's fun, it's personal, it's real, and it's always an adventure. During Season 3, LCMS missionaries serving around the globe talk about their encounters with critters and local wildlife. Today we'll hear from Shara Osiro. She lives in Kenya and serves as the manager for regional shared ministries in Africa.
Have I ever had any unwanted visitors in my home? Yes, monkeys. While they may be cute and cuddly to some, they are not cute and cuddly to me. I used to stay in an apartment on the 4th floor and where I thought I was fairly safe from monkeys. But one day I got home and decided to just open the doors to the patio just to get some fresh air. And I did, and went down the hall to the bedroom, and then something just said go back to the living room. And as I did, several of the monkeys had stepped inside, and one of them stole just a little room deodorizer that I had in the corner. So I snapped my hands, and they were able to step out, and I ran and I closed the door. And I was just horrified because when monkeys get inside, it's hard to get them out. And they stood out there and others came. In no time, there were about 6 monkeys on the porch. And again, I'm on the 4th floor. They were pressed up against the windows and I was weirded out by it. I closed the curtains and I called a friend of mine. I was like, what do? I have monkeys on the porch and they won't leave. And instead of trying to help me, but she ended up laughing at me. Now that I think back on it, it was a little bit funny, but I am not a fan of monkeys. One other time, monkeys came into a hotel room on the coast. We were there for a retreat and full of monkeys, lots of trees and vegetation. That area is really very well known for monkeys. So I was in the room and had some different snacks and things to bring for some of the other missionaries, and thought that the screen door was bolted, but it was only pulled shut. So I had gone outside and came back in, and there were crumbs everywhere. Those little rascals had gotten in, jumped on the bed, and ate all of the snacks. Fun? I don't think so. Yet in another apartment that we lived in, and we like trees. It's good to have the vegetation and the green space and the fresh air. And so they would, from time to time, come up against the kitchen window, on the back patio, or even on the front porch. There's one time, Michael and I were sitting watching TV, and we can see out of the window towards the back porch. And we saw some climbing on the grate and didn't think anything of it. We had a back door that went into a storage room. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw one jump down, but I didn't see him jump back up. And a few moments later, I said to Michael, what if he got into the storage room? It's not a room that we typically would keep closed. So we went to the kitchen, opened the door onto the patio, and lo and behold, there he was, trying to turn the handle to get into the back room. So Michael clapped his hands and he jumped away. So yeah, they can open doors if they're big enough. And probably about a week later, Michael's at home by himself, and he heard somebody trying to open the kitchen door, and there were 3 rather large monkeys out there trying to get in. So once again, I am not a fan of monkeys. There are other little critters here on the continent that I'm not a fan of, snakes and things like that. And I will say, being on the continent for 13 years, I have not seen a snake up close and personal. While I've had other colleagues that have snake stories that they could share, I'm so glad that the Lord has not allowed me to see that. But I'm not a fan of large geckos either, or large bugs, especially in hotel rooms. So just recently I was in Sierra Leone, and I don't know why, but in my mind, I think that the geckos were a lot larger, and they were crawling around, which they're friendly, is what everybody keeps saying, because they eat mosquitoes, which aren't necessarily very friendly. But there were a couple of times when we went back to the guest house at the end of the day, A rather large one in my mind would crawl along the door, and I would just let out a squeal, and of course my wonderful teammates would laugh at me. But what really creeped me out was one of the nights I went into the bathroom and saw some rather large antenna behind the toilet, and I was like, well, if there were a large antenna, then there's a large body to go with it. There were 2 really large cockroaches stuck behind there, and I was creeped out by going into the bathroom. I eventually went and got one of the guys from the hotel to go in there and spray, and yeah, out flew 2 large cockroaches. I was nowhere to be found. So let's just say that I'm not a fan of critters, but overall, just being in Africa with all the beautiful wildlife, all the beautiful animals, is just a wonderful thing to see on safari, and just to know how awesome God is with all the variations of animals, large and small, and how beautiful and how unique they are and how they live together. So I'm thankful for that and the opportunity to have the exposure to wildlife.
Thanks for spending 5 minutes with the missionary. To learn more about Shara and Michael, go to lcms.org/Osiro. You can also sign up for their newsletter using the link in the show notes. You can find this podcast on kfuo.org/missionary podcast or anywhere you get your podcasts. Join the LCMS International Mission Community on Facebook or Instagram at LCMS International Mission.